Good afternoon, welcome to Our Small Footprint. My name's Nyssa, and if you're new here, we're a family of 8 who live off-grid in Australia. It has been raining for the last 2 days, so it is hot and sticky and gross, but I have a whole lot of onions that I bought that really badly need to be processed because I've been a bit slack. So I am going to spend the day making caramelized onion jam to put on the shelves. We used the last jar of our caramelized onion and caramelized onion jam just the other day, so we have none left on the shelves, which is why I bought onions off season. So they're just storage onions, and I purchased them purely to make this. So I'm going to bring you along while I do it. So bring you over to the bench and we'll get going. Okay, so first thing I need to do is peel all the onions and cut them into slices. Sonnet wants to help so she can stick them through the dicer. So you can cut your onion however you want. We like it just diced up. We just find that the easiest thing. So I just cut them into smaller pieces so that they go on the dicer easier. And then we just place them on and dice them through. So we just end up with diced onions just like that in pieces. They're fairly uniform little flaky pieces that work for us in our onions. Now, nice sliced spiral pieces would be lovely to look at for using it with the onion jam, but it's just all too much work to do it by hand, so this works really well for us. So then we just start placing them in pots. I've got 3 pots on the stove, so we just start dicing the onions up, and then we'll put them all in the pots and fill the pots up. Sonnet has decided to give goggles a go. I don't think they're going to be sealed well enough to do her any good, but you know, she can give it a go. Now these onions are storage onions, they're not fresh, they're not new crop onions, so I am having to cut away some slimy bits and things like that, which is fine. I knew that was going to be the case when I bought them. We have run out of caramelized onion jam and caramelized onions on the shelf, so we needed to do it regardless, and then hopefully this will get through until new season onions come out, and then I will buy some more and do another batch.
Fresh jam stuff.
Not working? That's because it's the fumes from the onions that cause it. So you're probably just catching more fumes in underneath the goggles. Sonnet has decided she's had enough. She did pretty good, considering that was about 17 minutes by the look of the time on the recording, that she helped with the onions before the fumes got too much for her, which I'm grateful for her wanting to help, but it's probably quicker for me to do it myself anyway. And we're on to our second pot to fill, so I'm just going to peel and slice some, and then I'll dice them. This machine here we got from Vevor. I'll put a link to it in the comments. It works really well for potatoes and for onions when we're doing stuff for canning, if we want some consistent sizing. It doesn't work for my cowboy candy because it doesn't cut it small enough, and we do have to slice stuff up a little bit because it would do long strips otherwise, and I don't want long strips. I want dices, like consistently square sort of pieces. Now these onions are worse than they would have been if I had got to them earlier, but my monthly shopping trip was almost 3 weeks ago now, so they've been sitting in a produce crate since then, waiting for me to get to them, and I just haven't managed with the heat and everything else. I haven't been doing as much canning as I would normally, but we have actually eaten the very last of our onions off the shelf, so I really don't want these to go any worse than they are and risk losing even more of them before I get a chance to can them. So being pretty brutal with taking bits that are a bit gross off, just so that I don't taint my end product, but we're still ending up with a fair bit, but I might not need that third pot this time. Might be able to fit everything in the two. We'll see how we go. So I'll just keep chugging along. Alrighty, last few onions. Now, a bit more info about this cutter. If you don't put a bowl underneath it, stuff will hit the bench and just goes flying everywhere. So you have to put a bowl underneath it. And if you hold the supports while you're pushing it down, it works a lot easier than if you're trying to do it without supporting the cutter. That's it. So we've ended up with 3 full pots of onion that I'm going to now take over under the stove. Alrighty, all 3 pots are on the stove here. Can't get an angle to see all 3, but that's fine. People use butter, but we don't use butter as such. And because I'm canning it, there's also that. So we tend to use ghee in most of these things, and so it's just enough to help with the caramelization. So I'm going to pour some on each. It's probably, I don't know, half a cup worth maybe. Maybe a third of a cup. And then just give it a mix to get that melting through to the bottom. And then we just want to caramelize them. So caramelizing can take these size pots. I'm probably looking at a couple of hours maybe to get all 3 caramelized. So it's a long-winded exercise, which is why I like to do as much as possible at once, so that I can can up a whole lot of them all in one go. Might need a bit more ghee in it. We'll just see how it goes. We don't want the onion to burn, we just want it to caramelize. So that helps with that. And then the onions release some liquid of their own to help with that as well. So I'm just going to sit in my kitchen. I might grab my Kindle and or my iPad and watch some YouTube and just watch the onions, keep moving them around until they start caramelizing. Once they start caramelizing, you don't have to stir them as often, so long as the temperature is right. You don't want it too hot, but you can get it to a point where you can sort of just let them keep on going, give them a stir every 15 minutes and walk back. So I'll bring you back once there's some change. Alright, we've been going for probably half an hour, and most of it was reduced by about half. We're still up on high heat at the moment. I'll turn it down as I need to. This shows the difference between different types of pots too. So this is a stainless steel heavy bottom based pot, and it is definitely cooking down faster. Behind it I've got the insert from my slow cooker. So this is a non-stick tray, stainless steel I assume, underneath the non-stick coating, Teflon coating. Oh, I'll fog it up. But it doesn't do quite the same heat on stovetop, though it is stovetop capable. And then this is a big cast iron pot. Now this is on a much smaller burner because I have blow-on burners, but again it's done about the same as the stainless steel. It's down by about half. The cast iron helps with heat as well. So the cast iron can stay at a fairly high temperature for longer than the stainless steel too. It won't stick too badly to the cast iron like it will to the stainless steel. So about half an hour, and they've reduced by about half, and just gonna keep on watching them. Now I want to say that I started this process at about 1 o'clock this afternoon, and it's now almost 5 o'clock, and we're finally getting to a colour close to what I'm looking for. So I want to take it just a little bit further than this, and then I'll be adding everything else I need to add. Alright, the onions are a nice brown colour now, so now we've got to add everything else. So need to, I don't have a measuring cup. Now this is a double batch, so a single batch is about 24 cups of onion, but it's 24 cups of raw onion. So this was about a double batch, and to make sure that it's safe for canning, I'm going to do all the additives for a double batch, because that's what gives it the vinegar and stuff and allows you to water bath it. So per batch it's a cup of apple cider vinegar. So I'm going to put 2 cups of apple cider vinegar in here, and this is just Kirkland's, this is just from Costco. 2 cups of apple cider, and then it's a cup of balsamic. Now I don't have any standard balsamic around, but I do have this coconut mango lime balsamic, which will do the same thing. So it's 2 cups of this as well. There's probably not quite enough in here for 2 cups, but I'll just use what I've got and do the excess with the apple cider. Like that. Alrighty, and then it's 3 teaspoons of salt. So we'll do 6 teaspoons of salt, so I'll do a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. because this is only a 15ml tablespoon for some reason. And we want 6 tablespoons of maple syrup. Which ends up being 12. And then we need brown sugar. So we need another measuring cup. Sonnet, can you grab me another measuring cup, please, out of the drawer? Alright, the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of brown sugar, so we will do the 3. Now, there's a fair bit of sugar in this, but we only use it in really small amounts because it's onion jam, so it's not like you're spreading it on bread as the only thing that you're eating. So Darryl's in the background and shrugging that maybe that would be something he would like. But generally speaking, you're only using a teaspoonful on something. So what we're going to do is we're just going to mix that in, and then we're going to stick it back on the heat, and it will reduce some more. Now, it's not going to look like a jam, but it is going to go a bit syrupy, and then once it's processed, it'll go a little bit thicker again, and it comes out just a good consistency after that in the jar. So let's move it back over to the stove. I don't think I hit the record button before I started jarring this up, so it's, late night things that we do, so let's go over this just in case. So this is it all done, kind of gelatinous and syrupy, all ready to go. I'm canning it into these lug jars, which are just little 250ml jars, and they are washed and warm so that I can put the warm liquid straight in, and we're filling them to 1/2 inch headspace, which is just about a scoop and a little bit. And then we're going to water bath these for 20 minutes. 15 minutes is the guideline. Our altitude, add 5 minutes, so it'll be... Sorry, 10 minutes is the guideline. Our altitude, add 5 minutes, so it'll be 15. So I'm going to need some more jars than what I got here. I wasn't sure how many it would take. So I will get these filled and then get my canner warmed up, and I will bring you back. Alrighty, all the jars filled. So we got 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 21, and a little bit of surplus to go in the fridge. And I'm just going to debubble the jars. There you go. Now I'm going to get some vinegar to clean the rims with. Alright, so we've got some white vinegar, and I'm just going to carefully clean the rims of all the jars, make sure that there's none of the jam anywhere that's going to affect the seals. You can hear the dogs in the background because it's 20 to 8 at night and they don't want me being out here moving around. Sonnet is filling the canner up for me. And we will get that heated up. Now you can caramelized onions without adding the jam to it, but you have to use a pressure canner to do it, which we do as well, but the jam is really nice. As a condiment, we like to put it on our bagels, and I'm making English muffins for tomorrow, sourdough English muffins for tomorrow, so we might put it on those. Alright, all the rims have been cleaned, and now I've got brand new lug lids to go on all the jars. You can hear the frog chorus in the background because it rained today. Day has been busy because it rained 50 mils this morning, so there's been a lot of flooding and dogs rambling and in floodwaters, but we also managed to crack our radiator yesterday, so we've been chasing up a new radiator for the car as well. So busy day, which is why I'm still doing this at this time of night. So all brand new lids on those. They were cleaned, and now we're going to double stack these in the canner. So let me check if the water's alright. So the water's warm in the canner, so now I can bring it over and we'll double stack these in. Alrighty, I don't think this is going to be enough water, mind you, so I think I'm going to have to add more water, but we'll see. So yeah, definitely think I'll need more water, unless they all fit on one layer, which I can't remember if they do, to be honest. Can't remember how many of these jars fit in one layer. So we've got 12 there. Got another rack to go in between them, and then I'll put these in, and then I'll add some more hot water. Alright, let me grab some hot water. We don't have running hot water in the kitchen, so we either have to boil a kettle or we grab a bucket from the shower. So there's the shower, considering I needed that bit extra, and you want about, you want about 1.5 inches above the jars. So that should be fine. And then I'm going to stick the lid on, bring it up to the boil, and once it's at a rolling boil, I'll set the timer for 15 minutes. Rolling boil for 15 minutes, so I'm going to turn it off. And then I'm going to lift the lid off, and then I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes before I get the jars out. So I'll take the lid off, always make sure to, I'm in my own light, but always make sure to tip it away from you, because it's going to have steam and hot water. There you go, and we'll just let it sit for 5 minutes. We'll let it sit for 5 minutes, and then I'll pull all the jars out. Managed to tip some over because the water is quite cloudy and it's dark. I can't see what I'm doing. So there we go. Let's try and get this side. So there we go. Very pretty caramelized onion jam. That 21 jars for the shelf. So we use this in a lot of ways. I use it as an ingredient in my sausages. We like it spread on bagels and English muffins, and it's really nice as the mixed in with pesto as the sauce on the base of a pizza or tart or a pie, anything like that. It's used just like caramelized onion. It's just a little bit more acidic because it's got the vinegar and everything in it, so that it can be water bath canned. But otherwise I use it in much the same way as I would use caramelized onion. It's just a little bit more convenient to be able to water bath can it instead of pressure canning it. So there you go. That is our caramelized onion jam in bulk, made again this year, and we will make another batch when we have onions again to make it. So I hope you enjoyed that video. We will leave these jars here for till tomorrow to cool before they get moved onto the shelf, and they'll all have sealed by that point. And we'll be done. Alrighty, so I hope you enjoyed the video today. Hope it gave you something else to want to put on your shelves and some ideas of what to do with the stuff that you've got on your shelf. And I will see you next time.